It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
One more time for old time's sake.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live audio wrestling.
And let's go. We're now smoking with the best.
You know it. It's just after midnight here on The Law, going into hour 2. It's midnight Meltzer time. Are you ready for it's like Christmas for wrestling fans, Dave?
Yeah, I know, this weekend.
And the busiest weekend of the year for us.
I'm not sure I'm that
Crazy weekend.
I'm not sure I'm looking forward to the presents under the tree that much this year, though.
Well, one of those presents for WWE may be Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
From what we're hearing. Now, Dave, we haven't talked about this on the show as of yet. We waited for you to tackle this, but tons of rumors and reports coming out this week about the WWE and Ring of Honor talking about a potential purchase of Ring of Honor by the WWE. What is going on here?
There's talks going on. I mean, as far as what's going to happen, who knows? It's not the first time anyone's made offers for Ring of Honor. You know, and it hasn't been sold. I don't know what kind of numbers you're talking about. I don't know what Sinclair is thinking. There's just, I just know that, WWE is looking, essentially what happened. I mean, you'll see the pattern all year, but last year, a lot of stuff got popular, and WWE, I mean, it's not like they don't want any other wrestling, but they don't want any other popular wrestling. So that's the deal.
It's insane, Dave. It's almost like this weird, it kind of reminds me of the expansion in the 80s, except instead of kind of just taking over and getting rid of everybody, he wants to own everybody now.
I think that they want all of the tape of all of the top guys that they can get, for the network, for their videotapes, they just want to own the history of wrestling. And if there's other wrestling going on, they especially when it's getting mainstream coverage, I think that's the key. I think they don't want anyone else. I mean, you'll never own all of wrestling, but I don't think they like the idea of somebody else getting mainstream coverage. I think that is kind of like the thing, because then it's like, wow, there's other, if like the super, super hardcore fans know there's other wrestling, that's cool. But if the average person goes, hey, there's other wrestling, I don't think they really want that.
Isn't that being somewhat paranoid, though, Dave? I mean, they're still the biggest company by far. I mean,
look at. Okay, I mean, I was thinking about this the other night. What advantage was it at all in whatever it was, 1990, 1991, whatever the year was, when WWE went to the TV station in Portland, Oregon, where they've had, they had that show for 40 years,
yeah.
one of the longest running television shows
right.
in history, and going, we'll give you a tape for free so you don't have to spend money on production anymore for wrestling. It killed the territory, and it's like, was that territory hurting WWE? That territory was already run down. It was a nice place for guys to get steady work and to learn to wrestle. I mean, it served no purpose for WWE, realistically, to cut off theater systems, but they did.
And along with that, one of the concerns that pops up in my mind, and I'm just wondering what the thought process is here, because, you look at the guys who have come through, your Kevin Owens and even, Seth Rollins, who is Tyler Black back in Ring of Honor, but where they're really cutting their teeth and learning their style of wrestling is not in NXT. I mean, they went through NXT, but it's not where they really cut their teeth. And I don't know if Vince McMahon would realize this, but someone like Triple H has to realize the value of learning outside the organization before coming into the organization.
But doesn't potentially? Let's just say that Ring of Honor develops more stars than with a lot less money spent than NXT does. Doesn't that lead to people asking questions? It hasn't led to people asking questions.
It already has.
Well, so there's your answer.
I mean, who have we seen that is a complete homegrown? Wyatt, I guess? Reigns?
Yeah. Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, and, Charlotte, and a couple of the other women.
The women they've done a pretty good job on, but, they're still...
But the thing is, if they own everything, then it's all going to be the same, and you're not going to have people to develop to be unique characters outside that bubble. If they take over, then it's just one big bubble, and everyone will be kind of the same.
Hasn't that been the goal since 1984?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we really saw it.
I mean, it's nothing new. It's what it's always been. It's just that, for a long time, I think the feeling was WWE was like, hey, they exist, but they're insignificant. They're just indies. Nobody knows about them except for super hardcore fans. But now, if Rolling Stone or Fox Sports writes a story on the Young Bucks, it's kind of like, wait a minute. It's like that's kind of mainstream.
It's not surprising, certainly within the last little while, because of the stuff they want to do in Europe and that. It's almost like they're just on this real major thing to just conquer the whole wrestling world.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Europe, obviously, the ITV thing, ITV and New Japan are definitely situations that, that they probably would rather not exist, at least if New Japan coming into the United States market and the ITV in the UK market. I mean, you could see, would WWE really want somebody getting 1 million plus viewers every week when they're getting 50,000 viewers a week on television? I mean, you can see, especially as big as they built their company, it's like you can go, hey, they're number one, why should they care? But the thing is that if they let the door open, I mean, like, you could have said the same thing about WCW through up until like '96. It's like, oh, look how much bigger WWE is. But then what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And granted, it was only 2 years, and WCW self-destructed. But if WCW was run by more competent people, WWE could have lost that war.
Let's flip over and chat about the other business aspect of wrestling that we're following along with, and that is the Matt and Jeff Hardy, both contract status and status of the ownership of the Broken character. Now, there were reports and rumors popping up all over the place about an offer from WWE to the Hardys this week, which I continually saw on my Facebook feed. Along with that, Impact has gone ahead and put a trademark on all the Broken videos on YouTube, which prompted Rebby Hardy to go on a rant on Twitter about applying for an actual trademark. Matt Hardy has closed his online store. What looks to be potentially their final date out there could be on Saturday with Ring of Honor.
I think that they're still committed to some dates in April.
Okay.
I know they're working for a Tommy Dreamer show late April, or series of shows, I think, for Tommy Dreamer late April. But essentially, they're not committed to anything past whatever it is, late April. So, I mean, I think that it's a pretty safe assumption. It's more than a safe assumption that they're going to WWE. I mean, it's more than just talks. They're going, realistically.
But obviously, WWE would want all this trademark stuff to be worked out beforehand, right? They don't want to be taking on a product that they can't actually use what they think they're getting.
Yeah, I think that's the game that Anthem is playing. I think that, again, I don't know who would win a prolonged court battle, but the thing is that if there is a prolonged battle, it holds up the Hardys, and if, at the age that they are, and if they go in without using the gimmick, it's kind of a bad thing. I think they want to go in with the gimmick. So I think that's where Anthem is thinking that the Hardys will settle, and I don't know if they will. I mean, certainly the outward impression is that they won't.
Their longevity in the WWE will be extremely enhanced if they walk in with that Broken gimmick. It's such a refresh for them.
Yeah.
All right, let's flip over. In the Never Say Never category of professional wrestling, Jim Cornette will be inducting the Rock and Roll Express into the WWE Hall of Fame. Gotta say, I'm surprised that Jim Cornette's getting a mic on the WWE Network, Dave.
I'm not. I mean, from the day that the Rock and Roll Express went in, I thought that it would probably happen. I thought the only thing that would prevent it would be WWE saying just absolutely no way, and that's not. I mean, they could have, but it's the Rock and Roll Express. It's like they don't have any William Shatner out there that's affiliated with the Rock and Roll Express to induct them. So I think that they would probably just go with, who's the best guy? And Jim Cornette's a great talker, so they're going to do it. And I mean, I know from a long time ago, people had asked Cornette, if the Midnight Express was asked to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and his answer always was, well, they won't get asked, but if they were, would you go? And it was yes. If the Rock and Roll Express was inducted, would you induct them? And it's like, well, they won't call me, but if they did, I would say yes. Well, he was wrong. They called him.
Yeah, I think this is something he himself wants to do. I don't think he's going to go haywire at the Hall of Fame or anything. I think he's probably going to
doing anything wrong.
Yeah, no, he won't. He's going to give
everyone knows it. He would never do it to Ricky and Robert.
Exactly.
It's a good night for them. And he loves those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the highlight. One of the highlights of his career was working with them.
And it could be the best speech of the night at Hall of Fame.
I expect it will be.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be somebody else could do better, but if I'm betting on when I look at that lineup,
absolutely,
the thing that I'm the most looking forward to is the Jim Cornette interview. Yeah.
Also popping up, another name of an induction here, Bischoff will be inducting DDP. Now, that's not necessarily a surprise there at all, but, we see people get involved in video games and Hall of Fames, and all of a sudden when the names get back on TV and mentioned, they become TV characters. Eric Bischoff is a name that would work very well in a GM role. Do you foresee him doing anything beyond this with the company, Dave?
I mean, it's always possible. I mean, look, when they were going to do the GMs, I mean, I remember some people would ask me, like, who would you put as the GMs? And at the time, I thought, I didn't think that they would ask Daniel Bryan. There were reasons for that. So I said, like, I don't remember who I said the other one was, but I remember one of them. I think it might have been Foley. But I think that, like, it was like Eric Bischoff was the other one. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I think Eric Bischoff's a great TV character. And the key is he's been off WWE TV for so long that he's older, but it's new now. It's not like, oh, God, Eric Bischoff again, right? It's like, and he was on TNA, years ago. And he was good on TNA, but it wasn't the right fit at that time. I didn't. Even though he was good, but now it's new, and he's a good talker, and he's got that authority thing going, and I don't expect it, but it's like if I was in there in the war room, and somebody said, "Hey, let's do this," I would say, "Yeah, let's do it." But there's other candidates. I have a feeling that the Raw guy is going to end up being Kurt, but I don't know that for sure. Kurt Angle.
Interesting. I was just going to say, we just lost the GM on Raw. There's a spot for him
did we?
There.
I mean, that's what we were talking about as well in regards to Mick Foley. Yes, he's been fired and has sort of kind of said goodbye as far as TV goes. Do you foresee him being out there at WrestleMania for a revenge spot?
He could be there for a spot because his surgery is not for a couple more weeks.
Right.
So, he won't be on TV regularly for a long time, if ever. And, I think that the return to TV is more dependent on how well he recovers because he was hurting really bad. And, there was a point where I know he was questioning why he ever did it. He thought it was like he did it because he was asked and he was trying to be a nice guy and make money, but it was hurting him real bad going through the airports every week. So it's like it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like he was going to keep going and doing this. But after the surgery, if he feels better, could he petition to get it back? I don't know how they're thinking as far as storyline and what they're thinking. I think that if he recovers well enough to where he can go through airports fine, I would think it would be a good idea to bring him back.
I do too. I could see him coming back if he's healthy. I could see him coming back, but I would see him coming back on SmackDown.
Well, it'll be a completely different time.
That would mean Daniel Bryan would probably have to leave, and I don't think Daniel Bryan is going anywhere for
a year and a half.
Yeah,
a year and a half. That is going to be a very interesting time. Yeah. Before we go, Dave, Knox County, Tennessee, could have Mayor Kane applying to run for mayor. What does this mean for Glenn Jacobs, the Kane character? Have we said goodbye already?
I haven't heard that it's goodbye, but he's been out since December. He's been gone for months. He is injured. He's trying. He's got an insurance business. He runs a business there anyway, and he saved his money. And he's 50 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's like for a big guy to have lasted as long as he did, it's pretty amazing actually. And you could see at the end he was definitely getting slower. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that he may not come back full time. I will say this: a lot of times. Of course, then again, look at the president. But a lot of times when wrestling people run for office, I kind of go, oh, God. You know what I mean? It's like it's a joke. But I wouldn't say it with him.
No.
I've read – his political views are his views, but the point is I know – I've read a lot of stuff. I know he's a super smart guy, and I know that he's not like some, egomaniac who doesn't know what he's talking about trying to run for office. So, he's a serious – I would categorize him as a far more serious candidate than most – professional wrestlers that have run for major office.
Dave, that does it for us this week. We're going to be talking to you next week. But the Observer, what you got? What's the top story?
We'll have to wait and see what goes on the next couple of days. But obviously, previews of this coming weekend and all the stuff that's going on there. And thank God, this was like a weekend without a lot of stuff. But there's
it's the calm before the storm.
Yeah,
it is very much the calm before the storm. Yeah, next week. With the Ring of Honor show now as an pay-per-view, and NXT takeovers are always great shows. WrestleMania is the big show of the year, and You know, and then it'll never end. The next weekend is New Japan and UFC on the same night, so it's like, you know, there's and again the Raw after WrestleMania, and now the SmackDown after WrestleMania is a big show too. So this is, and then there's the NXT after WrestleMania. So it's like this is a gigantic week of news coming up.
It's all the season finales and season premieres for our favorite television shows. Well, Dave, we'll be talking to you next week right here on our Post-Mania show. Look forward to that. Good luck getting all that Observer stuff together. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great week.
Okay, you have a great week, too.
There you go. Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find his work.